Dan Wuzing, our hero, conquered the martial arts world also known as Jiang Hu, earning the title of Fist King for relying solely on his fists in combat. Unrivaled, he was one day ambushed by goons from the demonic faction. He felled many, yet two remained. These two were formidable and ruthless enough to sacrifice their own comrades. Their cruelty and the symbol etched on their weapons revealed their allegiance to Wuzing. "I'll finish you with 10 strikes." Wuzing roared, lunging toward one of them. But each blow missed its mark. Thin threads, controlled by the other goon, snaked around him, hindering his movements. With the 9th strike, the puppeteer tightened his hold, immobilizing Wuzing as his companion plunged his sword deep into his body. Even as life ebbed away, Wuzing managed to land his 10th strike, shattering his enemy's jaw. And with that final act, Dan Wuzing perished, his last thought a burning desire to strike again. He awoke with a gasp, not on a battlefield, but within the Jihua safe house, as Li Jineon, eldest son of the Yunhe merchant group. Bolting upright, he frantically checked for injuries, bewildered to find none. But when he caught sight of his reflection in the mirror, he recoiled. A mask? He wondered, examining his new face. After closer inspection, he dismissed the thought. As the maid scurried out to summon a physician, he decided to understand his new reality, exploring his surroundings. Even simple movements proved challenging. This body was weak, fragile. Finally, he discovered a journal titled Yunhe Merchant Group, a renowned and prosperous organization within Jihua Mountain. Leafing through its pages, he realized he was trapped within the body of Li Jineon, a scoundrel, judging by the letters mentioning women and gambling. After careful consideration, he arrived at a stunning conclusion. He, Dan Wuzing, had reincarnated as Li Jineon. Just then, Gong Sun, the physician, entered with a fawning smile, like a cunning fox, and subtly reached for his pulse. Jineon snatched his hand away, reassuring him that he was fine. Then, the snake-like physician offered him dragon and phoenix soup, proclaiming it a tonic, but in reality, it was poison for someone in Jineon's fragile state. Instead of answering, Jineon casually inquired how long it had been since his death as Dan Wuzing. Discovering that only a short time had passed, his enemies still alive. A chilling resolve hardened his gaze. Physician Gong Sun, his old enemies, all would pay. He had been given a second chance at life, and he would not waste it. Days passed since Dan Wuzing's reincarnation as Li Jineon. That morning, the maids prepared Jineon's breakfast with great enthusiasm, knowing he would finally eat a proper meal. Until recently, he had been on a strict porridge diet for health reasons. "Hurry," one maid urged. Jineon could return from his walk at any moment. Her words were cut short as the door opened, and Jineon stepped inside. He glanced at the breakfast spread. "Keep it simple for now on," he instructed, "just like this." As he headed toward his room, one maid noticed his improved physique. "He looks much healthier," she commented, the others quickly agreeing. Sometime later, Jineon began his breakfast, only to have his mood soured by the arrival of the sly snake, Gong Sun Meng. With a sigh, Jineon allowed him entry. Gong Sun, immediately sensing the unwelcoming atmosphere, plastered on a wide grin as he greeted him. Jineon, meanwhile, regarded him skeptically, knowing this man always had an agenda hidden beneath his obsequious behavior. A smirk played on Jineon's lips as he planned to corner him. "To what do I owe this pleasure, Gong Sun?" he asked nonchalantly. Gong Sun launched into his usual melodrama. "Oh, Jineon, I couldn't bear the loneliness. So, I simply had to see you." He then subtly commented, "Your complexion looks different," undermining Jineon's recent physical recovery with a single remark. This caught Jineon's attention. "So much effort," he quipped, "just to lure me into drinking dragon phoenix soup?" Gong Sun, clearly not expecting Jineon to know about the soup, stammered, "Dragon phoenix soup? Why, it's simply a nourishing tonic." "Toxic," Jineon corrected casually. "But I am your physician." Gong Sun reminded him, his voice rising in pitch. Realizing he was about to be exposed, Gong Sun made a dramatic gesture. "If you clearly don't need me, Jineon, then I had better be going." Before he could take a step, Jineon's voice stopped him. "Are you the master here, Gong Sun?" he asked in a dark tone. "That you come and go from my chamber on a whim?" Seeing Gong Suin's alarmed expression, Jineon laughed. Just joking. Gong Sun nervously played along. "Bring me writing tools," Jineon ordered. "I wish to write a letter." When Gong Sun complied, Jineon instructed, "You will write it." "I'll dictate." He began. "Gong Sun Meng is forced to live in this villa due to a severe illness he is suffering." His next words caught Gong Sun completely off guard. His life is too long. Therefore, Gong Sun seeks advice from his master on his next course of action. Seeing Gong Suin's stunned expression, Jineon asked, "Why have you stopped writing?" Gong Sun tried to laugh it off. "Please, elaborate on that, my lord." Before he could finish the sentence, Jineon threw a chopstick. It scratched Gong Suin's neck slightly before piercing the wall behind him. Now truly alarmed, Gong Sun touched his neck, his fingers coming away with blood. Jineon's expression turned serious. "I'm no longer the lead Jineon, you know, Gong Sun," he stated clearly. Gong Sun feigned ignorance, but Jineon decided it was time to confront the snake. "The dragon phoenix soup," he began bluntly, "is a tonic only for healthy people. My body, however, is far too fragile to absorb it as such, making it toxic." He paused, fixing Gongsun with a pointed stare. And yet, you, a physician, somehow didn't know this. You made me drink the soup just yesterday, and this morning you were checking my pulse, clearly observing the effects. Not only that, when I told you to leave the soup on the counter, your expression revealed unmistakable killing intent. Genion leaned forward slightly. I know someone like you can't act on his own. Write the name of your master on this letter. Gongsun initially adopted a dramatic approach. How could you suspect someone as kind as me? He asked, his voice laced with false hurt. He then took a deep, theatrical sigh, only to drop the act in the next moment, revealing his true colors. I didn't know a scoundrel like you had a brain to figure things out, he sneered. Genion understood. There was no longer any pretense. Gongsuin's tone turned cold. My true intention is to kill you in silence. He glanced at the servants. Their blood must also be shed to cover up your assassination. But before he could ready his poison needle, Genion appeared behind him. With one swift attack, Gongsun was knocked down. Nonchalantly resuming his meal, Genion commented, You really shouldn't get distracted during our conversations. Looking at his bruised hands from the earlier strike, he felt frustrated by his fragile body. All I need is to recover the strength I once had in my past life. Once I achieve it, I will be unstoppable enough to face the entire Yunham merchant group if they're truly behind this assassination attempt. For that purpose, he knew he must return to the group to investigate Gongsun further. The next moment, a sudden headache struck, causing him to stumble and sit down heavily. He remembered Gongsun. Then, a flood of memories from Li Jinyan's body rushed into him all at once. After the shock wave settled, a tear slipped from his eye as he finally understood the real story. He was untalented and average, unlike his intelligent and strong second and third brothers. To overcome his ordinariness, he did what no sane person would do. He began spending money on indulgences, which deteriorated his health to the point where, by the time he realized his mistake, there was no coming back. Under the pretense of helping him recover, he was sent to this villa, which was nothing more than a place of exile. But his clan hardly cared about their untalented eldest son living out his days here. Now, inhabiting Jinyan's body, Wuzing resolved to resume his martial arts training, an endeavor he had previously postponed due to the absence of Jinyan's memories. He felt a surge of frustration toward the body's original owner for squandering such potential on frivolous pursuits. I will utilize my knowledge from my past life to unlock this body's true potential, he muttered, starting with the acquisition of some rare elixirs. Stepping inside the villa, his gaze fell upon a stack of money. Relief, he sighed. Financial problems are not something I have to worry about. This assurance meant acquiring the necessary elixirs would be a simple task. Then his eyes landed on Gongsuin's lifeless form, a testament to his earlier, decisive strike. He decided to bury the body. A year passed in what felt like a single, swift breath. One day, Mak and Siop, a guard squad member from the Yunham merchant group, arrived bearing a letter for Jinyan. Approaching a maid, he inquired, Where might I find Jinyan? She gestured towards the training grounds. He's usually meditating there. As soon as Mak laid eyes on Jinyan's robust physique, his eyes widened in disbelief. Can this really be Jinyan? He wondered. Over the past year, Wuzing had dedicated every moment to strengthening his body. His energy core had manifested, and he had re-energized himself with essential martial arts techniques, including the enlightened mobility art, enlightened body art, and rapid strides. Moreover, he had mastered the white lightning 10-phase art, granting him control over the lightning element. Through rigorous training, he had successfully reached the 4th phase of martial arts. Yet, in his eyes, it was still not enough. Jinny and Nim, Mak greeted nervously, interrupting his training. I am Mak and Siop from the Yunham merchant group. I have brought a letter from the main clan. With calm grace, Jinyan replied, Hand it over. Mak, meanwhile, struggled to reconcile the image before him with his memories. This is the same frail, coughing man I saw last year, and yet, now he stands so tall and strong. The letter, if you please. Jinyan's voice, laced with subtle sarcasm, broke through Mak's reverie. Snapping out of his daze, Mak quickly presented the letter. Jinyan settled down to read it. The letter informed him of his father's sudden ill health, leaving him bedridden, though no cause was specified. Hearing this, Mak voiced his suspicions. The Ouyang clan must be behind this. They are nothing but vultures, demanding exorbitant fees from the Yunham merchant group under the pretense of providing protection. Mak continued, his voice rising with anger. Over time, the payments have increased to an unbearable level. He paused, his expression darkening. What significant contributions have the Ouyang clan made to warrant such a steep increase? He vented his frustration. They have done nothing to deserve it. He recalls the incident when the Ouyang group faced the Little Deity sect, who tried to impose a large sum of tax on their trade. At that time, the Ouyang clan casually told the sect they had nothing to do with the Yunham merchant group except when they needed to meet for serious discussions. Mak adds that even the guard captain can't take action because Ouyang, who is associated with the group. This catches Jinyan's attention, as he knows this name from his Jianghu days. Ouyang Hu, a man quite famous there. Jinyan now clearly sees the picture. Ouyang Hu is someone strong, taking advantage of his power to harass the Yunham merchant group, which he considers too weak to matter. This issue will either end in death, he declares, or I will personally teach Yang who a lesson. Mok is taken aback, but he goes on to mention another matter that has left Jinyan's father bedridden. It turns out his younger brothers were foolish enough to start a sword duel in front of the entire Yunha merchant group. He can hardly believe their stupidity, realizing it angered their father so much that he fell ill from stress. Mok tries to console him, saying the matter has nothing to do with him, but Jinyan cuts him off and stands up, declaring he can no longer play a passive role. Mok is startled by his sudden resolve. Keep the letter, Jinyan says seriously to Mok. I will see the situation for myself. When Mok returns to his squad, the first thing he does is relay the news to his comrades about how someone like Li Jinyan has become a martial artist. As soon as his companions hear this, they start laughing. Everyone has their own opinion on the matter. Some say he must be good in bed, while others comment that if someone like Jinyan can become a martial artist, then they must be legendary martial artists themselves. One of his companions tells him to make a believable joke. For example, how the vice captain has finally found a lover. The vice captain, Han Yip, overhears their conversation and becomes interested to know whether Jinyan has truly regained his health after hitting the man who tried to move him. Then Han Yip firmly states that Jinyan has been a martial artist since childhood, thanks to the gifted body he possesses. Now, Han asks about the timing of Jinyan's return. Mok shows his uncertainty about this matter, as he only mentioned that he is coming back. At that very moment, they hear the announcement regarding Jinyan's arrival, and they understand it is now. Han asks his subordinates to go and greet their young master. They are not happy to hear this, so he sternly reminds them that he is their master, no matter what. Meanwhile, Wuzhuang, seeing the opulent Yuna merchant group's palace for the first time, is truly surprised by its richness. In his past life, he had only heard stories about this group, but now, seeing it up close, he realizes that Jinyan is not just well off, he is bloody rich. You maids can rest, he tells his maids. I'm going to visit my father. As he walks ahead, he is surprised by the silence, as no one bothers to greet him. His wish is soon fulfilled when a large number of guards greet him with their swords. Then, Han greets him, commenting, Jinyan, you look almost unrecognizable. I'm delighted to see you healthy. Han's subordinates assume he is merely flattering Jinyan, believing Han has no pride, since in the past, their master always insulted him for his consideration. At that moment, they're bracing for a crude insult, but they're truly taken aback when Jinyan greets them by commenting, what a welcome for someone troublesome like me. Seeing their shocked expressions, Mok insists, I've already told everyone Jinyan has really changed. Noticing this, Han, who is escorting Jinyan to his father's chamber, has a soft expression on his face, and Jinyan finally starts to feel like he is their ally, instead of a hostile figure. When they enter, Han informs him, I have already told your father about your arrival, for which he thanks him. Their conversation is interrupted by the hand of his youngest brother, Jian, who greets him with a mocking comment. Looking like this, you look like a completely different person. You pervert. When Jinyan has the audacity to glare at him, Jian clenches his fist on his shoulder. Han, who has witnessed Jinyan getting beaten by his youngest brother in the past, doesn't want him to face the same treatment on his first day back. He gently takes Jian's hand off Jinyan's shoulder, commenting, both brothers should be happy to see each other after such a long time. But to his shock, Jian slaps Han for touching him without permission. Don't you like my poor behavior towards you? Jian warns him, asking, are you looking down on me? The next moment, he declares, I am ready to teach you a lesson. Before he can act, Jinyan slaps him hard enough to knock him to the ground. Jian is completely baffled by this. The next moment, Jinyan clenches his fist on Jian's shoulder, letting him feel his strength while expressing, I was quite excited on my way here. Jian shouts in pain, babbling profanities at his brother while calling him insane. Hearing this, Jinyan deadpans, you will be calling me Big Brother from now on. Meanwhile, Li Huayan, the Yuna merchant group's second son, notices quite a commotion in front of his father's room. He asks Han about it, and the vice captain comments, there's an argument between your eldest and younger brothers. Hearing the commotion, Huayan immediately assumes Jian is harassing their eldest brother. He rushes inside, worried about his big brother's ill health. To his surprise, it's actually Jinyan, sternly warning his younger brother to be quiet in front of their father's room. He then notices Huayan's presence. After a moment, Huayan settles in front of his eldest brother, who is Jian kneeling with his hands raised as punishment. Seeing him healthy, Huayan feels a wave of relief. Jian, however, is clearly unhappy. He's healthy now, Jinyan assures him. Then, noticing Huayan's injured fist, he asks, did Jian do this? Huayan tries to brush off the question, but Jinyan furiously turns to his youngest brother and slaps him hard for raising a hand against his elder brother. Poor Jian has no choice but to comply if he wants to avoid further beatings. He can't believe this is the same weak Jinyan who used to massage his shoulders, terrified of getting a beating from him. The scene brings a nervous smile to Huayan's face as he thinks about the reversal of roles. Jinyan now beating Jian, when it used to be the other way around. Jinyan then settles down beside them. Huayan is curious about his sudden change in personality and physique. Instead of answering, Jinyan simply comments, you have good eyes, his gaze fixed on the scrolls in front of the middle brother. Opening one, he asks, what's inside? The list of employees who are going to accompany me to the conference room tomorrow, Won explains. Jin scans the list, his focus sharpening as he finds Gongsuen's name, the primary reason for his inquiry. Seeing Gongsuen's name and several others, he realizes they've all been recommended by Yang-hu. He turns to his brothers, his expression darkening. Are either of you working for Yang-hu? He demands. Both brothers furiously deny it, insisting they would never hand their merchant group over to that clan. Jin smiles. Good. I don't need to eliminate either of you. He stands a decision made. Will all the higher-ups be at this conference? Yes, the nerdy Won replies. I've decided to attend the conference as well, Jin declares. Before they can protest, he leaves the room, ignoring their objections. They are completely dumbfounded by their brother's sudden change in personality. At that moment, Jian wishes he could go to Jiwon Mountain as well. Meanwhile, Jin stands before his father's room and enters, having received permission. His father, Seongmin, the leader of the merchant group, immediately notices him. What's the commotion outside? He asks, but Jin brushes it off as he sits. I've heard rumors of you being under a lot of stress, father. Seongmin sighs. I'm always under stress, Jin, but my old body isn't strong enough to withstand it anymore. He raises a hand to touch his son's face. You look so healthy, so changed. Are you truly Jin? Happiness shines in his eyes as he touches him tenderly, and something stirs within Jin. As woozing, he never knew the feeling of having a parent, but the familiarity of a father is there. He remembers his father as strong, broad-built. Taking his father's hand in his own, he realizes how fragile Seongmin has become. I'm going to get rid of everything that has brought you to this condition, Jin says, his voice firm. Seongmin shakes his head, unconvinced. You don't need to worry about anything, Jin insists, his expression determined. I'll handle it. Seeing this resolve, even Seongmin begins to sweat. The next day, everyone gathers in the Yunha Merchant Group's conference room. Won is briefing the attendees, and Yang, who is also present. His subordinates immediately notice Jinyan's presence, whispering amongst themselves. Yang assumes that Jinyan has come to solidify his position within the group. After Won finishes his briefing, he asks, are there any objections? Before he can proceed, Yang, who raises his hand. I have a demand to make. Jinyan doesn't currently have a guard. I suggest a person who can serve as one. A murmur stirs through the Yunha Merchant Group. Yang, who has already recommended numerous employees. This feels like an intrusion. One person attempts to voice his objection, but Yang, who silences him with a threatening glare. Does anyone object to my suggestion? Yang, who asks, his voice laced with arrogance. Everyone remains silent, afraid to speak. Just as he is about to proceed, Jinyan raises his hand. I do object, he announces, and I have a suggestion of my own. Fire the squad guard leader, Yang. A wave of worry washes over the Yunha Merchant Group members. The Yang clan members, however, chuckle, assuming Jinyan must be joking. Yang, who is considered essential to the merchant group's security. Yang, who sneers. You've been bettered in for so long, you don't seem to realize you have no right to fire me. The next moment, Jinyan's fist slammed into the ground, the force of the blow nearly shaking the building. You seem to have forgotten something, Snake, he said, his voice devoid of emotion. Despite Yang's influence, I am still the master of the Yunha Merchant Group. Earlier, Jinyan had confided in Won his intention to dismiss Yang-hu. Won, however, cautioned against it. The Yang clan is far more powerful than we are, he'd warned. Jinyan had countered with a question of his own. When someone underestimates the martial artists of Zhonghu, aren't they eaten alive by their own arrogance? He then gestured around the room, highlighting the numerous employees loyal to the Yang clan. It feels as though the Yunha Merchant Group is being swallowed whole. Won, ever perceptive, understood his brother's unspoken message. Jinyan, sensing his brother's concern, offered a reassuring smile. Don't worry, I have a plan. Hua, witnessing this exchange, nervously smiled, now realizing his elder brother's intentions. The Yang clan, sensing the shift in power, immediately drew their swords. Explain yourself, they demanded, their voices laced with threat. Hans, enraged by their insolence, stepped forward to protect Jinyan. How dare you raise your swords against the master? Jinyan, completely unfazed, coolly addressed the Yang clan. It is remarkably insolent for you to draw your swords against your employer. Are you all courting death? He paused, his tone darkening. However, he continued, abruptly changing direction. I feel I must compensate Yang-hu. Yang-hu looked bewildered. You see, Jinyan explained, I've ruined your perfect retirement plan. He proceeded to outline Yang-hu's machinations. First, you intended to eliminate me through Gongsun. Then, you manipulated my brothers, driving a wedge between them, a conflict that conveniently coincided with our father's illness. All that remained was for you to control one of my brothers, using him as a puppet to seize control of the Yunha Merchant Group. Yang-hu erupted in laughter. These are ridiculous fabrications. Jinyan continued, his expression unchanged. Your plan began to unravel the moment I personally killed your assassin, Gongsun. Yang-hu's eyes widened in disbelief. I dispatched the poor fool with a single strike, a merciful death, Jinyan added casually. If you intend to seize control of the merchant group, Yang-hu, you'll need a far more elaborate plan. Besides, he concluded, his voice laced with steel, I will also be charging you for the damages you have caused. Yang, now past his limit, had enough of Jinian's words. Furious, he raised a fist, threatening death. But before his blow could land, Jinian blocked it. The moment their fists collided, Yang-hu felt a surge of lightning energy, realizing Jinian had truly become a martial artist. A collective gasp rippled through the onlookers, stunned by Jinian's display of power. Attacking someone who has just finished recuperating, Jinian remarked dramatically, I'll let it slide, since we're having an official duel. An announcement declared the duel underway. Is that enough? Yang-hu questioned. A cocky smirk played on Jinian's lips. We duel until one of us is dead. Yang-hu, regaining his composure, calmly stated, You must have been trained by a good sect, judging by your efficiency and skill. Raising his sword, he declared, I'll make you understand the difference in experience. Jinian swiftly dodged the attack, unimpressed by the taunt. Ducking low, he drove his fist into Yang's gut. I have 100 years more experience than you, he declared. Yang-hu coughed up blood, stunned by the force. Jinian activated his enlightened mobility art. I'll show you what a real difference in experience looks like. Moving with lightning speed, he struck. Yang-hu barely managed to block the blow with his sword. The two clashed repeatedly, Yang-hu slashing, Jinian countering with bare fists, each strike blocked by Yang's blade. Yang-hu, perplexed, couldn't decipher Jinian's techniques. This was not the fight of a rookie. His skills were those of a seasoned martial artist. Still, Yang remained determined to end the fight. His subordinates, seeing his stance, grinned, believing victory was at hand. Yang activated his three-form sword art. Jinian immediately ducked his head to avoid the strike, simultaneously activating his rapid strike. Moving so fast, Yang didn't even sense the shift. The next moment, a devastating punch landed on Yang's jaw. The impact, visible even from the main house, left the servants murmuring in confusion. Yang's father, however, wore a proud expression. My eldest son has mastered martial arts, he declared. As Yang-hu collapsed, his subordinates rushed to his side, their faces contorted with fury. One glared at Jinian, but a deadly threat silenced him instantly. Another subordinate concedes that there were no irregularities in the duel. However, he warns before departing. If this is the way Jinian wishes to act, then the Yang clan will adopt the same method to take revenge on the Yunha merchant group, something that he claims will be impossible for them to avoid. But Jinian doesn't care about such petty grudges. He's never been new to them. I will repay whatever they give me, he declares, whether it's a grudge or kindness. Besides, he claims full responsibility for the incident, which prompts a protest from Waiyan. Jinian looks firmly at everyone. Despite my earlier claim that the Yunha merchant group belongs to me, he states, it also belongs to my father, to the squad that welcomed me this morning, and to every employee who works here. Therefore, I will not allow anyone to toy with our merchant group. With that, he orders the Yang clan members to leave, adding, You're all fired anyway. Everyone is pleased by his speech, except for the Yang clan, who leave reluctantly, wishing him good luck in dealing with their clan in the future. As they go, one employee is about to cheer, but another quickly stops him. Remember, the second employee says, Jinian won an official duel. Besides, adds a guard, we can't celebrate. After all, we're the guard squad. Yet, instead of doing our duty, we stood and watched the entire time. Unfazed by the commotion, Jinian turns to Waiyan. Bring me an elixir, he requests. Since I've already taken sole responsibility for this matter, I deserve at least that much. Waiyan chuckles. I'll bring you the best elixir, brother, he assures him, and I'm going to be busy from now on. Not only will I be buying elixirs, but I also need to hire new people for the guard squad. I already have some people in mind who can fill the job, Jinian replies. Meanwhile, somewhere inside a private room, a figure receives the news about Jinian's recent actions. The news is indeed true, his subordinates confirm. Actually, our boy has already thought through all of this a few days ago, the moment he set foot in the Yunha merchant group. He's been analyzing the employee patterns as well. On his very first day here, while on the way somewhere, he suddenly stopped and asked Han whether he had eaten. Completely caught off guard by the considerate question, Han answered that he hadn't had time to eat since dawn because of work. Jinian then glanced downstairs, where a few Yang clan members were wasting time in useless conversation. In that instant, he understood the group's dynamic. The loyal Yunha merchant group employees work so hard they can't even make time for a meal, while the Yang clan members enjoy easy money, slacking off during working hours without any real obligations. Han addresses him again, but Jinian's mind drifts to a solution. He can't simply fire the Yang members. The group would be left vulnerable without immediate replacements. After a moment, he knows exactly where to find them. A shady gambling den, the kind of place only criminals would frequent. He heads there. As soon as he steps inside, eyes lock onto him. Some point, murmuring about the pushover and expressing surprise at seeing him after so long, even assuming he's dead. They anticipate an easy win, ready to watch him lose his fortune. The guard at the main hall greets him with overzealous excitement, assuming a large payout. But this Jinian is different. Don't touch me, he warns with a subtle, sharp edge, leaving the man deflated. Without pleasantries, he orders, "Open the door." Inside, Chul Myungo, the poisonous fox, glances at his former friend. "You look healthier," he comments. "Must have been a long recuperation." His companions, Yuk Jinbo and Yuk Myunbo, also offer greetings. Myungo smirks. "We should at least ask after Jinian's well-being, since he's been so ill." The Yuk brothers offer clumsy apologies, while Myungo mockingly declares, "He's my friend." Jinian scoffs. On the surface, they appear to be childhood buddies, but Myungo has always used this pretense to harass him and exploit his weaknesses for money. He wonders if the new generation has an entirely twisted definition of friendship. Oblivious to Jinian's thoughts, Myungo eagerly pushes him to gamble. "It's been far too long," he says, eager to fleece him. He's confident no one else would be foolish enough to fall into his trap. Feigning friendliness, Myungo insists on treating him in honor of his return. When Jinian doesn't immediately respond, Myungo grows impatient. "Say something," he urges. "I'm thinking," Jinian replies calmly. "What are you thinking about?" Myungo presses, his vulture-like eagerness barely concealed. Jinian says nothing, weighing his options. Should he kill Myungo? To him, Myungo is a useless scumbag, not worth keeping around. The Yuk brothers are the only ones of value here. Their skills wasted under Myungo's command. Despite living as thugs, they actually have skills worth using. With that decision simmering his mind, Jinian stands and calmly says, "Myungo, hand over the key to the vault." Myungo blinks in surprise. "Why? Why do you suddenly need money?" he asks. Jinian answers evenly, "This is just a one-time cash withdrawal. Myungo, the interest you owe me for the thousands of niang I was forced to invest in this gambling den, plus medical compensation for the times you had me beaten, brings the total to around 100,000 niang. That should be enough." Myungo bursts into laughter, mocking him. "Did you learn your math during your time away? The vault doesn't just contain the money you're demanding, Jinian. It's filled with gold, silver, and jewelry. You're a fool if you think you'll get any of it. At best, I could lend you some money if you're desperate, but the vault key is out of the question." Irritation growing, Myungo continues. "I remember all those times you complained of being sick, only to stand here healthy, daring to demand the vault key while blatantly ignoring me. Come to your senses, Jinian. Remember who is standing in front of you." When Jinian still doesn't answer, Myungo steps in close, his face inches from his. "Are you wishing for death at my hands?" Again, no answer. Finally giving up on words, Myungo snaps an order to his minions. "Beat him to pulp." One of the Yuk brothers grabs Jinian from behind, preparing to slam his head onto the table. But Jinian's expression darkens. "This is me being kind," he realizes. In the next moment, he hurls one Yuk brother straight into the wall. The other rushes forward, but Jinian sidesteps, using the table for leverage, and in a flash shatters his ankle. That brother goes down instantly. Jinian turns back, surprised to see the Yuk brothers rising again despite their broken bones, their eyes completely devoid of fear. That sight actually excites him, as he's fired up now. Both brothers charge at him together, but within seconds, Jinian vanishes from their line of sight. In the blink of an eye, he's behind them, moving with blinding speed. He grabs both of their heads and slams them together, reminding them coldly, "I'm not going to warn you again." Now, with the rowdy brothers down, the only one left is cowardly Myungo, who's been hiding behind them. Jinian turns to his old friend with a sinister smile. Myungo, trying to mask his fear, nervously speaks to Jinian in a friendly tone. "You should tell your friends about learning martial arts." He keeps one hand hidden behind him. He eyes him suspiciously, questioning his reason, but responding with his usual calm demeanor. As Jinian steps toward him, Myungo's fear spikes. He reveals the knife, warning, "Don't come any closer." He tries to calm himself, repeating, "It's just Jinian, after all." With forced determination, he rushes forward, planning to end the fight with a single, swift strike. He smirks from behind the table, thinking it will shield him. But Jinian kicks the table aside. In the next moment, one punch from Jinian shatters it into pieces. All that remains is a stunned, speechless Myungo, whose head Jinian seizes in his grip. Counter-Strike wins this time, Jinian says calmly, a smile playing on his lips. The next moment, Myungo shrieks in pain as Jinian sends crackling lightning coursing through his body. Outside, a guard mutters, "Someone's going to die today." After the shocking burst, Myungo collapses to the floor, drenched in sweat. Jinian, unfazed, tells him get a grip. With difficulty, Myungo lifts his head, his eyes burning with humiliation. What had Jinian been doing during his recuperation? The thought creeps in. Had Jinian trained all this time just to take revenge on him? He tries to defend himself, thinking he hasn't been that bad to him. But recalling his past behavior toward Jinian, the conclusion feels unavoidable. This is payback. Forcing a nervous smile, Myungo says, "Ask for anything, Jinian, except the vault key." Jinian pauses. This is exactly what he wanted to hear. Myungo quickly reminds him that despite his bad behavior, they've been childhood friends, and he reluctantly plays along. Hearing this, Myungo's face brightens, and he immediately hugs a very irritated Jinian, assuring him, there will be no more beatings or harassment from now on. Jinian doesn't buy it. He pushes him off, grimacing. "Your sweet words are making me sick." Despite Jinian's irritation, Myung-go keeps talking, insisting they aren't just friends. I'm promoting you to brother. He immediately turns to his minions and orders them to greet their big brother. Both of them obey, without question, looking rather clueless. Inside, however, Myung-go is smirking, thinking, Jineon is someone who once lived at my feet and followed me like a puppy. The moment I get the chance, I plan to grab my guards and run. I'm certain I can deal with any other problem afterward. On the other side, Jineon addresses the twins directly, telling them, when I call someone brother, that bond lasts for a lifetime. The Yuck brothers glance at Myung-go for approval, and Myung-go urges them to swear, declaring, you are now sworn brothers. The twins immediately pledge their loyalty to Jineon as their big brother. Myung-go feels satisfied with the progress until his blood runs cold when Jineon darkly orders the Yuck brothers to step aside, saying, you and I are going to decide who the real big brother is. Despite Myung-go's protests, the twins left the room, leaving him utterly unsettled. He wrestled with Jineon's true motive. Jineon calmly reminded him, you made your money by exploiting them. That's not the right way, Myung-go. I'm going to take responsibility for them now, knowing full well they're worth more than money. Myung-go protested furiously. You beat me, and now you're trying to take the brothers away. It would be better to kill me outright. As rude as the remark was, Jineon granted him the sentiment by kicking Myung-go in the jaw. You're doing a great job, Jineon said coldly, and proceeded to use him as a punching bag until Myung-go finally understood that Jineon wasn't bound by any reluctance to kill him. At last, Myung-go mumbled, I'll give you what you want. Say it aloud, Jineon replied casually. Defeated, Myung-go finally agreed to hand over the key. Jineon smirked. Show me you're begging for your life. Myung-go still had the audacity to scoff. Should I be more respectful instead? He learned his lesson quickly when Jineon threw him aside, leaving him to wonder if he'd gone insane. As soon as the Yuck brothers saw him, they turned to ask, are you lost? With no choice left, Myung-go confessed, I have lost. From now on, you will be serving Jineon. The sheer humiliation made him feel like crying. For a brief moment, he thought like a sensible human being and decided to let the brothers go, so they could have a better life with the Yunnan merchant group. But when both brothers looked at each other and agreed to serve Jineon, Myung-go's irritation flared again at what he saw as their ingratitude. After the matter was settled, Myung-go stormed out, irritated and muttering, never trust black-haired people. As soon as those around him noticed he was without the Yuck twins, they were ready to beat him now that his security was gone. Seeing the hostile faces surrounding him, Myung-go's arrogance flared. I'm still the poisonous fox, he shouted, challenging them, come at me. The men took the bait, weapons in hand, their fury boiling over, cursing his luck for leaving in that state. Myung-go prepared for the worst, but before anyone reached him, Jineon stepped in to defend him. Jineon remarked, these vultures didn't dare approach Myung-go when he was strong, yet now they're ready to devour him while he's vulnerable. You can come for Myung-go only when he's strong enough to fight back. He instructs the Yuck brothers to collect every valuable item. As they move to carry out his orders, Myung-go continues cursing at everyone and everything, Jineon included. When they arrive in front of his home, the Yuck brothers thank him for saving their former master, a gesture that catches him off guard. Looking at the twins, he recalls the rumors. Some said they were sold to Myung-go as slaves, others that they followed him out of fear. Yet, seeing their genuine concern, Jineon smiles softly to himself, realizing that understanding true human nature is far more complex than it seems. Meanwhile, from behind a pillar, someone watches carefully, making sure Jineon is truly there. Now, in the present, things fall back into rhythm, but Jian is far from happy with the progress. He still grumbles about not having a quiet day until his big brother returns. The sudden appearance of money and jewels from the gambling den, along with the Yuck brothers, makes him fume with resentment. The next moment, he sees a cart arriving with new supplies. Hwa-yeon checks them carefully, instructing the servants to be cautious with the goods, explaining that the items are quite precious and leaving the cart there. Seeing this, Jian grows curious about the contents. His eyes brighten when he spots a 100-year tuber fleece flower so rare that people line up since dawn just to gather one. He assumes it must have been brought in at his order. At that moment, their father steps outside. Hwa-yeon quickly rushes to him, reminding him that it is still too early for him to be out in his condition. Jian, however, is far more interested in finding out for whom his father brought so much elixir. He recalls that Jineon only needed one, so he is hopeful he might get at least one for himself. But his face pales when he hears that all of them are for Jineon. Their father explains that, after what happened with the Ouyang clan, they cannot risk relying on a single elixir. Besides, it's not much, judging by the sheer amount of money they already wasted on the Ouyang clan and the Little Deity sect. So, after considering the matter, he sent letters to the heads of their local branch offices and some big names in the elixir industry, requesting high-quality elixir supplies. They agreed to help, as their businesses are interconnected and suffer from each other's losses. At that, Han supports his decision to aid Jineon, trusting him to become a great martial artist. Seongmin thanks him for the support. Then, despite the disheartened face of his youngest son, he declares that he has finally found the perfect way to spend the money he has earned all his life. Jian is furious to learn all of this. He steps in front of his father, demanding an elixir for himself as well. His father pauses, looks at him for a moment, and asks, "Do you truly need one?" Jian's rage intensifies, fueled by the constant praise he hears for his eldest brother. He feels discriminated against and struggles to understand why Jian receives such attention. But words are not the answer he receives. Jian rushes past him at lightning speed, the force of his movement knocking Jian off balance as he drags a massive boulder on his back. Observing his brother's determined, sweat-drenched face, Jian realizes that Jian, already blessed with strength and confidence, is now putting in the hard work. With a sigh, he lies back on the ground. After a moment, he glances thoughtfully at his sword. Inspired by his brother's intense training, Jian rises and begins practicing his sword art on a training dummy. He recalls the move Jian used on Ouyang during their duel. After repeated attempts, he sighs in frustration, unable to fully grasp the nuances of Jian's skill, all while cursing under his breath. Almost as if summoned by his thoughts, Jian appears before him, startling Jian. "What brings you here?" Jian asks nervously. "I finished my training," Jian replies. Realizing what his younger brother has been doing, he offers him his sword. "Review the move Ouyang used against me," he says, adding praise for Jian's effort. Embarrassed that his brother caught him training, Jian takes the sword, rises, and attacks the dummy with renewed determination, feeling momentarily confident about his move. "Sloppy," Jian states, instantly crushing Jian's confidence. Irritated by his brother's bluntness, Jian snaps back. But in an instant, Jian's fist hurtles towards him, Jian barely managing to block it with his sword. Jian then explains how he destroyed Ouyang's feint, closed the distance, and left him utterly helpless, forced only to defend, all while continuing to kick at his younger brother. "Can't we talk this out?" Jian pleads, trying to reason with him, instead of fists. But Jian, clearly in the mood to train his brother, ignores him. Left with no choice, Jian grabs his sword again and decides to play along. He rushes forward to attack, only to find Jian has vanished. An instant later, Jian ambushes him from behind. "Normal people show their true potential when they're cornered," he remarks. With that, he draws back his fist to punch, stopping just short of Jian's face. Scared, Jian fell back onto the ground, convinced he was about to be killed. In swordsmanship, Jian explained, stabbing has a lower success rate than slashing. Ouyang employed a one-hit kill technique, attempting a three-form sword style. Such a technique requires extreme caution. Therefore, I measured his speed carefully in order to counter it. Otherwise, I would have been finished. As Jian raised his sword toward his brother, his thoughts drifted to his match against Ouyang. Someone like Ouyang would have been finished before he even drew his sword if I still possessed the full potential of my past life body. But his body hadn't even reached a quarter of the strength he once possessed as the Fist King. Because of that, he couldn't simply celebrate his win. His thoughts then turned to the assassins from the demonic faction, and he realized they were even more powerful than him. This fueled his determination to surpass the strength he had in his past life. His reflection was interrupted by a maid's voice announcing a visitor. Before leaving to attend to his guest, Jian poked his younger brother on the forehead once again. Elsewhere, a group of men were discussing the ridiculous rumor that Jian, a notorious womanizer, actually knew martial arts. "I don't believe it," Guang scoffed, then he added. "Last night, I went to the gambling den in a drunken stupor and spotted Jian with the Yuck brothers, loading items from the den. I recognized him immediately, but before I could return after throwing up, he was gone." Zhu Jiaqiang and Simijuk exchanged glances. "We came here to verify the rumor ourselves," Zhu Jiaqiang said. They cautiously opened the door to Jinian's chamber and found him inside with the Yuck brothers. Seeing his muscular build, they quickly slammed the door shut again. They asked the maid in a hushed tone, "Is that really Jian? Or has some merchant group adopted him?" "It's truly your young master," the maid confirmed. The men looked as if they were about to faint, struggling to reconcile the image of the frivolous playboy from the four heavenly kings with the imposing figure they had just glimpsed. At that moment, Jian opened the door, scaring them half to death. "Feed the twins," he calmly instructed the maid, "and give them a large amount of food. They eat a lot." Once they left, he turned his attention to his old crew, who were clearly terrified. "Why are you here?" he asked. Too frightened to explain, they simply prayed for their safety. Simiguk, Zhujiang, and Guang, along with Jian, formed a group known as the Four Heavenly Kings, whose main purpose was to indulge in women and wine. Now, the four friends sat together, finally enjoying a quiet meal. Looking at them, Jian thought of Myungo, who also claimed to be his friend. But these idiots were different. They were more like partners in mischief, their world revolving almost entirely around women and wine. "How are you doing, Jian?" Jiryang asked, breaking the silence. Guang flexed his muscles, still unable to believe that Jian had been training. Sima, however, silently observed Jinian's demeanor and physique, concluding that this transformation wasn't something training alone could achieve. Jian had truly become a martial artist. "Where did you learn martial arts?" they asked, since it's impossible to be self-taught in such skills. Jian gave an ambiguous answer. "I was just lucky," he said. "It must be something like the legends we've only heard about in the Jianghu," Sima remarked. "I almost didn't recognize you at all," Jiryang added. Suddenly, Jian stated, "The Jian you knew is dead." Their expressions shifted immediately. "What are you planning to do now?" Jaryong asked, still hopeful. "I have a debt to repay," Jinion explained vaguely, "and to settle it, I'm preparing the Yuna merchant group. My goal is no longer to drift aimlessly, but to become stronger." Guang and Jaryong were dumbfounded, murmuring to each other about this sudden change. Sima, however, wore a more serious expression. He recalled the time when Jinion left under the guise of recuperating. But Jinion knew it was actually a form of exile. He had been disheartened, realizing that his father was disappointed enough to send him away. Sima had tried to cheer him up, consoling him and encouraging him to use the time wisely to study and change himself. Jinion had laughed in response, agreeing to change before Sima could bid him farewell. Remembering the incident, Sima sincerely congratulated his friend for changing for the better. A moment of silence passed. Then, everyone agreed with Sima, recalling the time Jinion left and the others didn't show up because of their usual hangovers. Seeing them bicker like this, Jinion sighed softly, realizing that these alcohol-loving idiots were his real friends. He poured alcohol for them. "What are your own plans now that I've changed?" he asked. At that, they all nervously declared that they were not the type to change. Still, while celebrating, they were happy that at least Jinion had stepped out from the shadow of their group to face the world. After a day of drinking and laughter, all his friends left, greeting him warmly and reminding him to reach out if he needed them. On their way back, they once again discussed Jinion's transformation, and Sima suggested, "Let's head home." Jaryong teases him about a possible betrothal, but Sima simply tells him to go home and study. Their banter continues until they decide to settle into Sweet Scent House, eager to prolong the evening and perhaps get even more drunk. Meanwhile, at that very same Sweet Scent House, Young Ji-song, the sect leader of the Little Deity sect, is in a furious rage. He had just received word of Ouyang, whose death. Members of the Ouyang clan recount every detail of the official duel between Jinion and their captain. When the sect leader demands to know what weapon Jinion used, they answer that the former Fist King relied solely on his fists. Young Ji-song's expression darkens with displeasure at this news. The Ouyang clan members, emboldened by their grief, again press for revenge, but the sect leader curtly reminds them that they cannot seek vengeance for a fair duel. One Ouyang clan member protests, "But, sect leader, you and Ouyang, who were supposed to be friends, you should honor that bond." Young Ji-song's temper flares, and he snaps, "I have no obligation to a dead man." He then orders them to take the corpse away and, furthermore, to apologize to his escort for the trouble caused. Afterward, Young Ji-song's thoughts wander to another, equally pressing problem. The Yuna merchant group has refused to pay their tax. Without Ouyang as their trump card, they have lost their leverage. Their refusal to pay means they no longer acknowledge the sect's authority, his subordinate reminds him. Indeed, Young Ji-song agrees, his voice laced with frustration. The subordinate then asks if he plans to kill them, but their leader shakes his head, replying that they are not some underworld goons. The subordinate presses, asking if he intends to simply let them go. Before he can respond, Young Ji-song spots three figures still chatting about their friend's transformation, Jinion's friends. He notices their presence and walks past them, intentionally mentioning the Yunha merchant group. Speaking just loud enough for them to hear, he muses aloud, "I wonder just how much wealth Jinion's father holds, and Jinion himself, as the heir, must also possess." Sima catches the remark immediately and takes the bait. He rushes to his friends and relays everything he overheard, but Jinion only yawns at the news. They might attack at any moment. Sima reminds him, anxiety creeping into his voice, especially since we no longer have a security squad after eliminating Ouyang Hu. Meanwhile, Jinion is already thinking about the Little Deity sect, something Mach has already informed him about. After a brief moment of thought, he asks Sima, "Where are the sect members now?" "At their base, of course," Sima replies, bewildered. "Come inside," Jinion says, beckoning him towards their room. "I have something for you." He hands him a robe to put on. His loyal friend complies. Asking again about their exact location, his curiosity piqued. "They're at the guard squad's warehouse," Jinion answers, a glint in his eye. When Sima realizes that he plans to head straight to the Little Deity sect's base, he freaks out. "Remember, Jinion, it's just you and me." Sima's voice was laced with worry. "The entire sect will be there, and we don't even have a proper plan." Jinion calmly drew his weapon. "This is the plan." He pressed the knife lightly against Sima's throat. "Lead the way." Reluctantly, Sima guided him to the Little Deity sect's base, where dozens of guards stood watch over the main gate. "I'm useless in a fight, remember?" Sima reminded him at the entrance. "Leave," Jinion replied calmly. "I'm going in alone." Disappointment flickered across Sima's face. He warned, "There are hundreds of guards in there." Jinion simply slammed the door open. "I'm going to do exactly what I used to do in my past life." As Dan Wuzing, his life had been governed by a simple rule: never back down from a fight. Not as an orphan in the brutal world of Jang Hu, nor during his reign as the Fist King. He refused to step aside, especially when his love for battle was involved. Every head turned as the door swung open. Jinion strolled in without fear. "I'm looking for your leader," he announced. A guard, incensed by the intrusion, stepped forward to attack, but Jinion moved faster. He grabbed the man by the neck and knocked him down in one swift motion. "You're standing in our den," another guard warned. Before the fight could escalate, the sect leader appeared, drawn by the commotion. "Who are you?" he demanded. "An assassin," Ji Neon stated calmly. The sect leader chuckled. "I've never seen an assassin walk in so brazenly." His eyes fell on Jinion's bruised fist, triggering a memory of a conversation with a member of the Ouyang clan. In an instant, he recognized him. "Ji Neon, maybe," Ji Neon replied coolly. The sect leader's face brightened. He hadn't expected Ji Neon to barge into his territory, but it certainly made things easier. He intended to exploit this opportunity. "Seize him," he ordered his guards. Ji Neon recalled the last time he faced multiple opponents in his past life. As the battle began, he knew his current body wasn't at its peak, but that didn't mean he couldn't enjoy the fight. With each strike, he knocked down guards left and right, punching and flooring them in rapid succession. Some guards instinctively backed away, shaken by his monstrous strength in barehanded combat. Suddenly, he froze as an arrow sliced across his cheek from behind. Turning with a smirk, he said cheekily, "Showing off your flashy weapon, are we?" The sect leader conceded that the sword was indeed expensive, a weapon he rarely used. "But for someone of your caliber," he said, "I am willing to make an exception." At the sect leader's command, the guards at Jinion's feet pinned him down, while dozens more perched on the rooftops, bow guns trained on him. Our boy thinks with bitter irony. So, the sect master doesn't even have the honor to fall alongside his own men. Suddenly, Sima's voice rang out, followed by a knife whistling through the air. Ji caught it mid-flight, and in one fluid motion, deflected the barrage of arrows. The force of the deflection broke the guard's hold on him. The sect leader stared in disbelief. Ji gave his loyal friend a thumbs up, then returned to the fight. He hurled the blade toward the sect leader, the edge grazing his neck. In a dark tone, he declared, "You are the only exception for whom I'm willing to use a blade instead of my fist." Now desperate, the sect leader screamed at his subordinates to kill him. But before they could react, Ji was upon him, fist cocked. The cowardly leader didn't hesitate to shove his lover forward, using her as a human shield. In a swift, controlled strike, Ji punched the man while simultaneously pulling the woman to safety. "Leave," he commanded her, then turned his gaze back to the sect leader, now cowering like a cornered animal. Just like every opponent before him, the sect leader realized he can't possibly be the heir of the Yunha merchant group. Only a professional martial artist could fight like this. To save his life, the sect leader offered Ji a generous sum of money. Before he could finish the sentence, Ji slammed a fist into him, knocking him to the ground. With cold finality, Ji declared, "I don't need money from someone who values it more than human life." After a thorough beating, he ended the man's life, his expression twisted in disgust at the sight of the scum's blood. With the matter settled, Ji left alongside his friend and the sect leader's lover. "I'll escort the woman," Sima offered, and Ji agreed. The two parted ways. As they walked, the woman recognized Sima. Flustered, he removed his mask. "I've seen you many times at the Sweet Scent House," she said. She thanked him sincerely. "I promise to treat you to high-quality wine the next time you visit." He brushed off the offer. "I won't be going to any betrothal next time." She commented softly on his transformation. Glancing at his friend, he calmly said, "I'm willing to embrace change." Inspired by Jinion's own transformation, while Jinion, for his part, was already thinking about breakfast. After freshening up in his chamber, Jinion settled in for breakfast with the Yuk brothers, encouraging them to eat as much as they liked. "Eat your fill, gentlemen," he urged. Delighted by his generosity, one of them asked, "Can we eat like this 7 times a day?" Jinion, without a second thought, casually agreed. "Of course, eat as much as you want." Then, noticing the injury on his face, another brother inquired, "What happened last night?" The question pulled Jinion back to the memory of the ambush, an event that genuinely shook him. It wasn't the sort of thing that would have rattled him in his past life, but now it made him realize that he must go beyond his usual training. He needed to keep pushing himself, both to prepare for revenge against the demonic faction and to keep strengthening the Yunha merchant group. At that moment, he was informed about a parcel. Opening it, he found a letter from Guang nestled in the box. The letter jokingly praised him, saying, "I see you're improving. Only one drink last night, huh?" It continued, "In truth, I was supposed to deliver this on my father's request, but I completely forgot. So, here it is instead." He ended the letter by bidding Jinion farewell, reminding him to get stronger for the sake of our scoundrel group. Opening the box further, Jinion found several century-old tuber fleece flower roots. He was amazed to realize these herbs might be nearly 5 centuries old. "This means," he mused, "they can help me raise my lightning 10 phase art to the 5th phase. Then, he checked another pouch, finding a box inside. Inside, he discovered a letter from the Taiho merchant group addressed to his father, as a token of friendship. Jinion concluded, "My father must have used his connections to ask the Taiho merchant group, one of the richest in the Central Plains, to deliver these precious items." When he opened the box, his eyes widened at the sight of azurite essence, a treasure trove for martial artists, second only to the legendary natural wineberry, the moonflower, and the 10,000-year snow ginseng. This elixir was so rare that martial artists would kill for it. Inhaling its scent, he was certain it was truly azurite essence, having tasted a few drops in his past life. But how? He wondered. Did my father manage to get his hands on it? Without hesitation, he tossed each tuber fleece flower root to one of the Yuck brothers, instructing them, "Guard my room while I focus on circulating my energy, and eat these roots once I emerge." One of the Yuck brothers eyed the item in his hand with curiosity. Genion explained, "It's something that will make you stronger. But don't lose it. It's valuable." One of them was astonished to hear this, then casually revealed, "My father brought plenty of similar elixirs just for me." Genion sighed, finally understanding. "It all comes down to money," he muttered. After consuming the root, Genion sat cross-legged in his room, meditating and gathering energy for the next 2 hours. The taste is bitter, he thought, but that's what makes it so much like martial arts itself. Painful, yet rewarding. Soon, he felt heat surging into his core from the elixir, and he was relieved that he had been training the vessel of this new body. But suddenly, a burning pain erupted through every part of him. He tried to suppress it, but it grew more and more unbearable. Gritting his teeth, he decided to tackle it head-on, channeling his energy to subdue it. After several agonizing seconds, he finally breathed a sigh of relief as the pain faded and his core began to cool down. Now, he thought, a triumphant smile on his face as he used his lightning art. "I've reached the 5th phase." Looking at his body, he noticed that he reeked of alcohol, thanks to his body's old owner's alcoholism. With a smile, he bid the old Genion goodbye. Now, he mused, it's time to attempt the azurite essence, a process he knew was far from easy. Most bodies scattered like a sand cup in the furnace under its effect, but he knew he had to endure it. In the next moment, he sensed the spirit energy of the essence surrounding him, as if testing him. At first, he decided to suppress his greed for power, but then he changed his mind and pushed against the energy, determined to surpass it and become insanely strong. 7 days passed while he remained confined in his room, working with the energy. His nerdy younger brother grew worried about him, but he was stopped by Yuck brother, who reminded him that their master strictly forbade anyone from entering the room. Before the nerdy brother could say anything, a large explosion erupted from Jinion's room, and he stood there like a ghost, eyes blazing with purple lightning. The Yuck brothers were stunned by the sight, but Waiyan, the smartest among them, immediately recognized it as the infamous energy deviation by the stench in the air. They rushed to him as he collapsed on the floor. The Yuck brothers tried desperately to wake him up. Waiyan, worried and scared, approached his eldest brother, who raised his head with the same intense expression. Genion got up and looked at his brother, his expression making him appear like a revengeful ghost. He started walking ahead. "Where are you going?" his middle brother asked. "I need to cool off a bit," Genion replied, warning them not to follow him, leaving a very baffled Waiyan questioning his statement. He was jumping from building to building at full speed, trying to get away not only from his home, but also from his street. The power surging inside him, thanks to the azurite essence he consumed, made him nearly uncontrollable. Jinion's body, not strong enough to withstand the essence's power, threatened to become uncontainable. For the sake of the people, he fled the inhabited areas to protect them from himself. He ran until he reached a deserted place, but even there, the power remained uncontrollable. Remembering the agonizing stab from his past life, he decided to release the pent-up energy. With a mighty roar, he unleashed it in a powerful burst that shot from the ground, visible even from afar. Exhausted, but satisfied, he stood there as rain poured over him, soaking him to the bone. He checked the level of his white, lightning 10-phase art and grinned. The surge of energy had pushed him to the 8th phase. Returning to town, his clothes, torn from the force of the unleashed energy, drew stares. He ducked into a shop to buy replacements. When he asked the shopkeeper the price, the man refused payment, recognizing him as the one who had defeated the rowdy Ouyang clan and the Little Deity sect, scaring off other thugs. The shopkeeper pointed to his children, explaining they could now play safely because of him, so the clothes were a token of gratitude. The children also offered him an umbrella. With a genuine smile, Genion accepted their kindness. Outside, he looked at the peaceful faces around him and realized the shopkeeper was right. He never truly understood the impact his fight had on others. Remembering the shopkeeper's words and the children's smiles, he felt a strange, warm sensation he liked. Suddenly, the peace shattered as loud shouting erupted nearby. He looked ahead and saw people chasing Myungo. His chameleon friend, breathless but unharmed, immediately greeted him with a wide grin. Genion, eyeing the fleeing figures, dryly commented, "You certainly keep my life interesting." Meanwhile, within the opulent palace of Moyongchan, the Emperor Assembly held a meeting. The conversation was led by Dako Meong, the leader of the Dako clan, who praised Moyongbin for his success in gathering the leaders of the various Emperor Assembly groups. Moyongbin brushed off the compliment and approached Ouyang Sion, the leader of the Ouyang clan, regarding the death of Ouyang who at the hands of Genion. The Ouyang patriarch visibly squirmed, embarrassed, especially when Moyongbin mentioned that Ouyang who, a self-proclaimed martial artist, often caused trouble with the Yunnan merchant group. A wave of laughter erupted from the Namgong clan leader and even the head of the Emperor Assembly. The idea that Ouyang who, despite holding the title of one of the strongest martial artists, had been defeated by a mere member of a merchant group, struck them as ridiculous. The leader of the Ouyang clan stammered, attempting to reason that Ouyang, who had already been banished from the clan. However, his eyes narrowed, and he darkly voiced his intent to teach Jinian a lesson, to remind him of the Ouyang clan's supremacy. On the other side, our dude and his self-centered friend are being pursued by the Crimson Reaper Alliance. They demand the handover of Myungo, who informed Jinian about these wannabe kings in the downtown district. These people stole the books I had for my auction business, Myungo explains. He then asks about the condition of his hands, showing them bruised. I can almost hear them, Myungo jokes. Seeing this, Jinian turns to the underworld goons. Return Myung-ho once his hands are fully healed. Everyone starts mocking Jinian's sanity, casually talking to him like this, but when Jinian doesn't react, they realize he's no ordinary guy, that he carries an oppressive aura. Still angry, they decide to beat him. One of the punks stops the others and steps forward. Do you really know our true identity? He asks Jinian. The punk is about to threaten him, but before he can finish his sentence, a hard poke from Jinian sends him crashing into a wall far away. Shocked, everyone stares. Unfazed, Jinian casually tells them to get lost. It's time I eat something, otherwise I might kill you out of hunger. It's better for you to come another time. Either I or Myungo will find you for your fight later. Finally understanding, the Crimson Reaper gang bids them goodbye for now. Now, Myungo has the audacity to ask Jinian to buy him something, especially noodles. When you beat me last time, he says, I almost died because I was starving. He rambles on about the importance of food for his recovery. Shut up, Jinian finally says, just ask me without adding so much. They then head to Jinpong's place to eat noodles. Myungo is happy to have a full meal, but notices a change in Jinian's eating habits. He used to eat so little, but now eats like he's been starving for days. He lectures him a little on the natural course of change, and then orders 4 bowls for his friend. The conversation shifts to the Yuck twins, as Jinian informs Myungo that they are doing fine and usually training at his place. Myungo comments on their gluttonous eating habits, which take a big dent out of his expenses when they are with him. Jinian casually reminds him that he is wealthy enough. Irritatingly, Myungo retorts that Jinian loots his money as well. The conversation then changes as Myungo becomes interested in Jinian's source of martial arts knowledge. Why? Jinian asks. Myungo casually answers that he wants to defeat the Crimson Reaper gang and martial arts can be quite helpful. In this regard, he also shares information about the gang leader, who has hundreds of subordinates. Wherever they fight, there's so many of them, though they run away when necessary. At that, Jinian offers to train him personally, which Myungo immediately agrees to. He promises to follow every instruction, taking it seriously as he is not called Poisonous Fox for nothing. The next moment, he surprises his greedy ex-friend by demanding that he bow to him. Myungo is quite embarrassed, but he still bows. Then, he rises, complaining, Jinian better teach him after this. Instantly, Jinian opens his umbrella and demonstrates how to swing his wrist for a sword move. This angers his former friend, who had just bowed while complaining about how he was going to dump trash on his merchant group's gate. Without warning, he is struck by the same umbrella as Jinian instructs, hold it with one hand and swing it exactly as I demonstrated. You must do this with the borrowed umbrella hundreds of thousands of times before returning to find me. Myungo hesitates, unsure if he can really repeat this stunt that many times. Taunting him with his title, Jinian says, give up on learning martial arts if you can't do it. Myungo remains hesitant, even after the warning. Giving his former friend a reality check, Jinian grabs his collar and reminds him, killing someone is not child's play. The umbrella swinging exercise will train your arms so you can kill dozens of Crimson Reaper gang members with a wooden sword, yet so far, you have only been running scared from them. Someone pitiful like you might as well just die. Myungo nervously replies, I don't want to die. Calmly, Jinian asks him to choose. Do you want to become a person worthy of the title Poisonous Fox or remain a cowardly rat? For a moment, his former friend is silent. Then, he finally asks to borrow the umbrella and leaves with it. After paying for him and sending off his friend, Jinian ponders his words, wondering whether Myungo will stick with the training or not. His thoughts then turn to the Crimson Reaper Alliance gang, and he resolves to keep his promise to track them down. Meanwhile, at the base of the Passion House, the leader is furious, beating his subordinates while others quiver at what is happening. Why did you let Myungo go? He demands. After hearing the full story, the gang leader contemplates, unable to accept that a merchant group's son dares to stand against his underworld minions. One of his subordinates explains, Jinian is not just someone claiming to be a master of martial arts. Some even say he is the strongest person in the Manhwa region, but seeing their master's expression, he trails off, unable to finish his sentence. The leader then orders the others back to the group tasked with finding Myungo and Jinian deadpanning. I want both Myungo and Jinian dead. Meanwhile, our protagonist is learning about the Crimson Reaper Alliance and its leader. One of the Yuck brothers informs him that the gang is infamous for tearing apart its opponents. Up until now, he says, they have killed many prominent leaders of different sects, such as the Napio sect and the Horn sect, adding that the gang then absorbs these smaller factions in the Yukwon region, growing even larger. As a result, establishments and businesses in the Yukwon area have no choice but to pay tribute money to the Crimson Reaper Alliance, regardless of the type of business they run. They are after Myungo for the same tribute money. Jinian then explains that the gang has taken over his former friend's auction house. The Yuck brother nods in agreement, noting that such an action would be typical of the gang. Having learned all of this, our protagonist realizes he has no choice but to find the gang. Otherwise, his merchant group will be dragged into the mess once they learn his identity. In the Yukwon shopping district, inside the Passion House, the madam is instructing her subordinates when they suddenly hear a loud shriek. Immediately, they rush to the source. One of the escorts informs her the girl is with the leader of the Crimson Reaper Alliance. They then grow worried about another girl still inside with the leader. Seeing the girl's condition, the madam instructs a subordinate to escort her to her room and let her rest, while she checks on the new guest. Meanwhile, the subordinates are instructed not to disturb the leader of the Crimson Reaper. Manhwa then approaches her new guest, who is none other than our protagonist. She tries to flatter him, but he cuts her off, asking directly about the Crimson Reaper leader. Do you have an appointment? Manhwa asks. He then asks if he can find the leader upstairs. Hesitating and wondering about his identity, Manhwa admits the leader is upstairs. As he heads upstairs, he warns her, evacuate the others. I'm going to meet the leader. Seeing that the other girl is still inside, she tries to warn him about the leader's immense strength. However, our protagonist is unfazed as he continues forward. In front of the leader's group, the guards warn him, this is a restricted area, but he keeps going. When a guard tries to stop him, he simply throws him aside, as if he were nothing. The other guards of the Crimson Reaper Alliance prepare to fight, asking, does this oblivious fool even know who we are? He calmly repeats his question, where is your leader? It seems everyone around is part of the Crimson Reaper Alliance, as a large number of men hurry toward him, their intent to kill clear. Jinan, on the other hand, calmly tells them, I also intend to kill you. One of them rushes him with a sword, but Jinan grabs the man's head and throws him aside. Another goon charges, but he dodges the attack and disarms him, killing him with his own weapon. He then rips open the door of one room, but it's not the right one. He wonders aloud, do I need to destroy every door on this floor to find the leader? Without hesitation, he bursts through every remaining door, but the leader is in none of them. He concludes, I need to search on the next floor. After a while, on the 5th floor, the leader is sitting in his room when the door suddenly smashes open. His subordinate immediately informs him. The person who did it is none other than the merchant group son we're searching for. It seems the leader also notices the chaos outside and casually asks, is our boy here to pay the debt of his former friend? Jinan, however, casually comments, you're on too high a floor. The leader smirks. Are you afraid to climb higher, fighting the welcome party of my subordinates? Jinan moves ahead calmly, telling him, it's my specialty to perform these kinds of stunts. When he comes face to face with the leader, the rowdy man looks like a giant compared to him. The so-called giant notices the height difference and grins, declaring, my specialty is looking down on others. Looking at his haughty expression, Jinan knows that he's the typical kind of underworld thug, bad enough that he doesn't feel guilty about beating him up. This is exactly why I like these kinds of punks, he thinks. In the next moment, he notices a girl behind the leader, clearly bleeding. The leader follows his gaze and grins haughtily, declaring, I couldn't control my strength. Jinan is beyond furious at a person who has no conscience and likely never will. He demands, let the girl go, all while pondering the way he will kill him. Noticing the fire in his eyes, the leader claims, anyone who comes to finish me off has the same intense gaze, but in the end, I rip them apart with my own hands. Meanwhile, people outside scramble to escape the impending danger. One of the members shouts, a crazy person is trying to crash the Passion House. It seems that this crazy person is not Jinan, but his so-called childhood friend, who is swinging his umbrella and driving everyone away. He has finally swung the umbrella 2,874 times. However, he is frustrated, realizing he still hasn't completed the task of 100,000 swings, and he starts counting again from the beginning. Suddenly, he hears a large explosion behind him. As he looks back, his thoughts wander, wondering if it is related to his friend. On the other hand, Jinan kicks the leader with such force that he's propelled outside, shattering the wall behind him. The leader glances back at Jinan, who, no longer a spectator, leaps after him, landing gracefully before his opponent. Even beaten, the Red Reaper struggles to his feet, grabbing a weapon from subordinate. With a grunt, he hurls it at Jinan, who dodges with a leap. He tries again. This time, Jinan calmly snatches the chain, the hilt still clutched in the leader's hand. This affords the Red Reaper a chance to gauge Jinyan's strength, a match for his own. He releases the weapon and charges forward, aiming to finish him with a rebound assault, confident Jinan can't block it. Observing the style, Jinan immediately recognizes the meteor hammer and fist technique. He notes the clean fighting style. This man was clearly taught by a traditional martial artist. However, the leader underestimates him. Jinan, a fist king, easily blocks the attack. In the next instant, he punches the man squarely in the gut, eliciting a shriek. Staring at his injured stomach, the leader recognizes Jinyan's fist-trained style and prepares for a real fight. Muscles rippling with raw energy, he surges forward, ready to tear him apart. Calm as ever, Jinyan seizes his neck and slams him to the ground effortlessly. The leader can't comprehend why he's at such a disadvantage, despite fighting with all his might. Now Jineon grabs his face, throwing back his own taunt. Now he's the one looking up at Jineon. He initiates the second stage of his white lightning art, still gripping the leader's face, which contorts in a scream of pain. With each passing moment, he escalates to the next level, ultimately reaching the fifth phase. The Crimson Reaper Alliance lackeys, witnessing their boss writhing and hearing his cries, debate whether to intervene, though their faces betray the fear holding them back. One recognizes the technique, the white lightning 10-stage art. When Jineon finishes, everyone is aghast to see nothing but ashes where their leader once stood. Rising to his feet, he casts a cold gaze upon the Crimson Reaper group. Who gave you the right, he demands, to collect taxes and tribute money from the hard-earned wages of weak people? He issues a challenge. If you want to flaunt your strength, come to me first. He warns, you will meet the same end as your boss. Meanwhile, the Crimson Reaper Alliance, emboldened by the thought that he's only one man, considers their chances of killing him anyway. Myungo watched him, wondering aloud. If the Red Reaper is truly dead, perhaps we won't need to pay tribute anymore. The man beside him scoffed. Jineon might just start demanding tribute money himself. Myungo immediately bristled, defending his childhood friend. He wouldn't. Jineon already has enough money. He'd never stoop to that. He resumed counting his umbrella swings, each strike a rhythmic beat in the air. A passerby eyed him, muttering crazy fool. Thwack! With each swing, Myungo recalled the time Jineon had asked him, do you truly want to be a rat, or the poisonous fox you claim to be? He knew everyone held a spark within, a potential for something greater, and it was his responsibility to nurture that spark. He understood his friend's desire for strength, a strength that bordered on madness. Abruptly, he stopped watching Jineon fight the Crimson Reaper goons. I'm the poisonous fox, he declared, not a cowardly rat. Meanwhile, Jineon, fresh from dealing with the Crimson Reaper Alliance, hadn't even washed the blood from his clothes when his concerned, scholarly brother, Waiyan, appeared at his door. I was just out for a drink, Jineon offered by way of explanation. Waiyan's eyes darted to the crimson stains. Your middle brother has come for advice, but what about the blood? Jineon sighed, consoling him, it's not mine. Waiyan already knew. Finally, Waiyan got to the point. I wanted to send the merchant groups something as a token of our gratitude for the precious elixirs they provided. First, the Taiho merchant group. How much is the medicine they sent worth? Jineon's mind flashed to the azurite essence. The value is immeasurable. Someone like me couldn't even put a price on it. Waiyan was baffled. What could we possibly give for something so valuable? Jineon shook his head. Sending goods or money isn't the right approach. We should form a merchant alliance instead. Waiyan stared, surprised. Jineon elaborated. Besides big names like Taiho, there are smaller groups like the Westwind Escort Establishment that lack official protection. An alliance would be a way to repay them by offering that protection. Waiyan hesitated. That seems bigger than what we can handle. Start small, Jineon advised. Just include the Taiho Merchant Group and the Westwind Escort Establishment for now. Consider it repayment. Already consumed by planning, Waiyan asked, what about the rules? Membership fees? Jineon tells him, don't charge any fees for now, and keep the rules simple. His brother inquires, what is the purpose of this alliance? He recalls the words of the escort establishment representative who sought his protection after he drove out 2 gangster organizations. Our purpose is to protect the lives of merchants, he states. Furthermore, I want to establish a proper line of communication so they can reach me in dire situations. His brother then points out, conditions may arise that even big groups like the Taiho Merchant Group cannot handle. For example, if someone from the underworld of Zhonghu harasses them, what action will you take? Jineon replies firmly, I will personally handle such matters. His brother hesitates, but Jineon explains, the merchants gave me medicine that made me stronger. I can do this much for them in return. Next comes the issue of naming the alliance. Waiyan suggests, let's call it the Great Merchant Alliance. Jineon refuses, not wanting it to sound like the Crimson Reaper Alliance. Let's correct it to the Great Merchant Association. Hua also reminds him, ever since his scoundrel brother came back, his workload has increased. Jineon apologizes, but Waiyan brushes it off with a smile, saying, it's better for merchants to keep themselves busy. Just then, one of their subordinates rushes in, shouting, a new problem has arisen. When asked, he reveals in a panic, Lord Ouyang and his disciples have personally come. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the merchant group, Lord Ouyang seethes about the humiliation he suffered during the Rulers' Association meeting. Each of you must take turns fighting Jineon. He emphasizes to his disciples, I want to give him a painful death. Besides, our family name cannot be restored with just one victory. They comply immediately. Shin Sobik then asks, are you two going to use weapons? Because I'm going with a barehanded fight. Ouyang Mayong agrees to use his fists as well, but Woon is less confident. I intend to use my sword, he admits. His brother mocks him. Woon defends himself. Jineon is someone who defeated Ouyang who had plenty of experience in Jianghu. Mayong scoffs, believing Ouyang was not strong enough. Finally, he arrogantly orders the servants, summon Jineon to come here personally. Instead, the Yuk brothers arrive and announce, you are to come to the annex by the invitation of our master. After a moment, the guests gathered before the boy, who awaited them with a courteous nod. He welcomed them, and each of the martial artists introduced themselves. A flicker of surprise crossed Jinian's face at the sight of Lord Ouyang, who offered an apology for his unannounced arrival, confessing he couldn't resist witnessing Jinian's strength firsthand. Understanding the purpose of their visit, Jinian inquired about the duel's format. Lord Ouyang proposed that Jinian face all three of his disciples, each eager to learn from him, and he laid out the rules. The victor will be determined by incapacitation. Should a combatant lose consciousness, become immobile, or fall from the ring, they will be declared the loser. Jinian accepted the simple terms and signaled his readiness to begin. Let the first challenger step forward. Mayong answered the call. Lord Ouyang, confident in his son's prowess, smirked. Mayong, however, felt a prickle of unease. This was no mere merchant son before him, but a seasoned Jangho warrior. He realized Jinian's victory over Ouyang, who must have been legitimate. Will you be needing a weapon? Jinian asked. Before Mayong could retort, a thunderous punch from Jinian sent him hurtling against the far wall. The cup in Lord Ouyang's hand shattered, spilling its contents. Jinian calmly stated, "You may draw a sword had I given you the chance." Next, Woon stepped forward, his resolve firm. He turned to Shin. "Take care of our brother." Shin nodded in agreement. Woon faced Jinian. "I intend to unleash my full power and skill. I hope you are ready." Jinian's eyes gleamed. "I would expect nothing less." "Begin." Instantly, Woon drew his sword, a silver flash in the air. With a swift charge, he lunged at Jinian, aiming a deadly strike. Jinian effortlessly dodged the blow. He recognized Woon as a skilled swordsman. Observing Woon's pattern, Jinian began to move with uncanny precision, evading each attack with bare hands. Now, Jinian initiated his offense, channeling the fifth phase of his lightning art. He lowered his energy level to the third. Woon braced himself, swinging his sword to deflect the incoming assault. With a sudden burst of speed, Jinian unleashed a lightning roar attack, striking Woon and sending him crashing to the ground, defeated with a single blow. Shin stood frozen in disbelief. Mayong spoke, his voice urgent. "We should stop this duel. Further defeats will only bring greater shame." Shin, his pride wounded, refused to yield. "I will not back down from the chance to test my skill against one who relies solely on his fists." He challenged Jinian. "I request to spar." Seeing Shin's stance, Jinian's eyes lit up with genuine excitement. A true contest of fist masters. With that, the two martial artists lunged at each other, fists flying. The clash raged on, Shin's attacks relentless, yet Jinian remained evasive. Annoyance simmered in Shin. Jinian had done nothing but defend. Determined to break through, Shin roared, "Let's see you block this." He unleashed his whirlwind wheel, crushing palm strike, a miniature tornado hurtling toward Jinian. Jinian grinned, impressive but far too unsubtle. In a flash, he seized Shin's foot, eliciting a cry of pain, and hurled him to the ground. "A good duel, indeed," he commented. Nearby, Mayong sulked, frustrated by their fruitless efforts. Lord Ouyang's displeasure was palpable, though Jinian couldn't fathom its cause. In truth, Ouyang trembled with barely suppressed rage. Jinian was proving invincible. Any further challengers would be equally futile. Worse, the ruler association's pride, and by extension, Ouyang's clan, would be utterly humiliated. Switching tactics, Ouyang proposed a stroll through the market. The peaceful atmosphere was readily apparent, and Ouyang casually remarked, "You must have many suppliers here." Then, without preamble, he extended an offer: join the ruler association. He clarified that Jinian need not involve his entire merchant group. He could join as an individual, while his group would still enjoy protection. Jinian was taken aback. The ruler association comprised some of the most powerful clans. "Isn't it true," Jinian countered, "that the ruler association was forged from clans who abandoned the Murim alliance, once the pinnacle of the 9 great sects?" Ouyang confirmed this with a dismissive wave. Merely friendly rivals, nothing more. Jinian's mind raced. He'd heard rumors that the Ouyang clan only recently joined the association, and that they were now desperate to salvage their reputation after this defeat. Ouyang, perhaps sensing Jinian's thoughts, conceded, "My subordinate, Ouyang, who spread unfortunate rumors about you, tarnishing our clan's image. I, myself, hold nothing against you. That is why I believe your membership will show the association that someone like you is under me. And if I refuse?" Jinian inquired. Ouyang scoffed. "You gain nothing by refusing. Surely, as a merchant's son, you understand the value of such an alliance." "I have no need of an ordinary martial arts group," Jinian retorted. Dismissing him, "I am not lacking for coin." Ouyang's composure shattered. Fury contorted his face. "Are you certain you want to risk the massacre of your entire group?" He hissed, the threat momentarily stopping Jinian in his tracks. Ouyang warns him that he possesses enough power to wipe out the entire merchant group, while sparing Jinian's life only to turn him into a public enemy. "Do you really think you are strong enough alone to crush an entire clan, let alone the ruler association?" he asks, his voice laced with venom. Before Ouyang can continue his threats, Jinian delivers a swift, powerful punch, silencing him. "I will kill you first, and then wipe out your whole clan afterward." Neon snarls. I'll even pin the blame on your eldest son. It's better if you don't test me. Lord Ouyang, undeterred, sputters. Those are the most vile words I have ever heard. You are a man with no shame, no restraint. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashes his poison-toed broad strike, a technique Ouyang's specialist trained to use against the leaders of the 4 great clans. He is confident that even with his power, Neon cannot withstand this strike. But Ouyang freezes, his eyes widening in disbelief. Neon is emitting lightning strokes, devouring the poison before it can touch him. In the next instant, Neon's fist connects with Ouyang's jaw, sending him crashing into the wall. He collapses to the ground, coughing blood. You are much weaker than you pretend to be, Neon comments, his voice cold. Ouyang struggles to sit up. Kill me now. No matter the outcome, you will become a public enemy because of this. The Ruler Association will come after you. You will lose regardless. Hearing this, Neon steps closer, his shadow falling over Ouyang. He whispers darkly, I will make you regret those words for the rest of your miserable life. A short time later, the stunned onlookers witness Neon dragging Lord Ouyang by his hair. Ouyang's condition is shocking, especially to his sons. Father, my young protests, rushing forward, but Neon silences him with a look. You will suffer the same punishment as your father if you interfere. Another son cries out, desperate, spare his life. He is alive, for now, Neon replies, his gaze unwavering. He turns to his subordinates. Prepare a carriage. The eldest son of Ouyang, his face contorted with rage and worry, demands, what is the meaning of this? Why are you doing this? Neon answers, his voice booming. Your father threatened to slaughter my merchant group and frame me as the culprit. A collective gasp rises from the crowd. I'm going to the Ruler Association to report this matter myself. Ouyang guards, you will come with me as witnesses. Before Neon can move, Shin interjects. The Ruler Association doesn't have a headquarters, remember? Meetings are usually held at the homes of the clan heads. The Moyang clan estate is the closest. Neon nods, his mind already calculating his next move. Guards, the Yuk brothers, keep a close watch on Lord Ouyang's disciples and sons. He turns to his middle brother. Prepare a detailed report of today's incident to submit to the Murim Alliance. With that, they head toward the Moyang estate, leaving behind a scene of stunned silence and simmering resentment. Inside the carriage, Ouyang, bound tightly by ropes, inquired, Where are you taking me? Neon responded curtly. A moment later, Ouyang, his throat parched, pleaded with the guard, Bring me water. The guard hesitated, glancing uncertainly at Neon. Neon, astonished, remarked, The lord of the clan begging for water? Yet, he remained unmoved. He discerned, this person must be an assassin, and with a swift motion, he unleashed a bolt of lightning upon him. The driver, startled, questioned, What happened back there? Keep going, Neon commanded. He then turned to the remaining guard. Tell me about your assassin association. What is it called? The guard explained, the Gold-Silver Assassin Group. We are ranked by gold and silver. I am a silver-ranked assassin. Neon pressed. Lord Ouyang, how much did you pay to hire these people? Ouyang remained silent, reluctant to answer. Speak, or I'll start breaking your bones, Neon threatened. Ouyang relented. 800 Niang, a far greater sum than their usual rate. Not worth your life, Neon countered. The assassin leader was supposed to kill you after you massacred the merchant group. Killing assassins is how clans cover their tracks. It's typical. Your life was worth a mere 800 Niang. Train harder to increase your value. Neon's tone hardened. Someone who kills for money should not be called human. He clapped sarcastically. A life with such purpose. Casually, he added, Your group of 3 assassins is now down 1 injured and 1 dead. Some time later, the carriage arrived at the Moyang estate. The sight of Lord Ouyang, bound and guarded, caused a stir. Curiosity rippled through the crowd, and questions arose about Neon's identity. Finally, Moyang Bin, leader of the Moyang clan, approached. What is the meaning of this? Ouyang, he turned to Neon. Ya Moyang Bin. Neon introduced himself, his brow furrowed. Neon, I thought Moyang Chu was the clan leader. Bin inquired, Why have you brought the leader of the Ouyang clan here, as if he were a common criminal? I will explain everything, Neon offered, proceeding to recount the entire incident. One of Bin's subordinates interjected, This is a grave matter. The Murim Alliance will hear of this. Bin silenced him. Neon, what is your purpose in bringing this to me? You must understand the danger of the Ruler Association. I assume you have come to reveal the truth preemptively. Neon questioned, What is your strategy for tackling this problem? Ultimately, it may fall on you. Bin mused. The obvious answer is to eliminate the danger. But murdering someone like Ouyang Sang could incite the Ouyang clan's wrath and place me under the Murim Alliance's scrutiny. At that moment, Ouyang began shouting at Bin, It's you. You caused all of this. Your mockery drove me to it. Ouyang pleaded, Help me. I'll do anything. Bin knocked him to the ground. You have no shame, he stated coldly, then ordered his men, Arrest the assassins, but keep them alive and under watch. Turning to Neon, Bin offered a polite bow. I apologize for the mess Ouyang caused. The Ruler Association will no longer support his clan. He paused. Please, join me for a meal? Neon agreed. Soon, a meal was laid before them. and Jineon ate heartily. Bin, however, found himself preoccupied, wondering how someone like Jineon, a man who had defeated the Ouyang clan patriarch, could exist. To test him, Bin inquired, "What strategy would you adopt to resolve this matter? We cannot kill Lord Ouyang, but we must handle it reasonably." Jineon countered, "What is your plan?" Bin began, "We'll send Sai to the Murim Alliance. This will absolve us of Saiyong's deeds and place the responsibility squarely on the Ouyang clan. Furthermore, to preserve our standing, the Ruler Association is ready to accept any damage, and I'm confident the other clan leaders will agree." "I like it," Jineon said. "Did the former clan leader, Moyang Chu, undergo the Golden Basin hand-washing ceremony?" Bin frowned. "You're a little slow on the news of the Yonghu world. Your father has been missing for a year." Jineon was taken aback. "We sent a search party of main branch members," Bin continued, "but they found no trace of him. It's the same time I reincarnated into Jineon's body," Jineon thought. "That means Chu died too." He asked, "Did Chu have any hostility with the demonic faction?" "The demonic faction has been silent for 20 years, Bin replied. "If they were to rise again, I would have noticed. Besides, I doubt they have any reason to target him." Jineon remembered his past life. He'd had nothing to do with the faction either, yet he was suddenly ambushed and killed. He needed to assess the situation. "How far would your father get if he were ambushed by a number of swordsmen?" "My father isn't someone who can be defeated by mere swordsmen," Bin scoffed. Jineon pressed, "What if those swordsmen had blade-proof bodies?" Bin stared, utterly confused. Recalling his last encounter with the assassins, he remembered how they had survived his 9th phase lightning energy. No ordinary man, struck by such force amplified by his current body power, could have endured it. He couldn't believe anyone could withstand that level of strength, leading him to conclude they must possess blade-proof bodies or some other impossible defense. If individuals of such power, including the sorcerer who had once controlled him, were to unite, only a being beyond heaven could stand against them. He was now certain that Bin would find no trace of his father or the demonic faction. Still, their secrecy and true motives remained a mystery. Meanwhile, in a secluded sanctuary, the heavenly demon addressed the Sword Demon. "We have located the Sword King," she announced. The Sword Demon, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, commanded, "Prepare the faction. The hunt for the Sword King begins." That's all for today. For the next part, make sure to subscribe my channel Fire Recap. And you don't forget to share and like the video. I am out.